Special episode 117 of the Thoughtium Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I am Anthony Ewing. I have been part host this year in 2022 alongside my team of incredible practitioners here at Thoughtium. And week over week, we have shared with you all leadership and leadership perspective that matters most. We have so enjoyed creating the space for you all, our community, on a week by week basis. And we've shared this table with so many incredible leaders from different industries, different corners of life, different practitionership. We've had coaches, we've had leaders, we've had small business owners, all sharing in this incredible community platform. And so each year, we get really excited to take a look back at those moments that have really shaped the Navigating Now community, and particularly this show on a week-to-week basis. We want to thank everybody for joining. We know that this is a busy time of year. We also know that a lot of folks are taking some time off. So hopefully you're stopping by in the LinkedIn feed, or maybe you're tuning in at thoughttium.com/live. Today, we're going to have some fun as a team. I am joined by a handful of my Thoughtium teammates, and we're going to be bringing you the top 5 Navigating Now moments from 2022. And it was really hard to pick, but these 5 moments were the most formative, generated some of the most robust discussions, and ultimately led to action for those who really were able to share in these moments. So with that being said, we're just going to dive right in. This is a live show, so we'll roll with whatever technical difficulties come our way. But we hope to show a little bit of content, and we'll be bringing in the Thoughtium team to commentate and make sure that we solidify the learnings from these top 5 moments. Okay. For number 5, and these are all in chronological order, we go back to January 6th, 2022. This was at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to be bringing in our director here at Thoughtium, Rachel Guile. Rachel comes to us live from a long road trip that she's taking, heading west, I believe. So, Rachel, where are you calling in from?
Holiday Inn in Tucson, Arizona. So quite the day to be calling in.
What of your tour out west to California?
I think we're about 26, 27 hours into the drive and have maybe 7 or 8 hours left till sunny San Diego.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, safe travels. I'm glad that, I think very few of us were south of all of the cold and snow earlier this week, but it sounds like you all were safe. And we so appreciate you jumping on and sharing moment number 5 from the Thoughtium Navigating Now Roundtable series. And this comes from no other than our perennial leader, the Navigating Now guest that personifies this community, Mr. Tim Jones. And Tim came to us in January, and we were doing a little bit of prospective looking at what 22 might bring and some of the shifts that we're seeing in leadership. And the focus of the episode was on how we can leverage some of our setbacks to really propel and thrive in altered circumstances. And Tim shares a little bit of his insights, and we're going to share that with you here as we pull up this clip. And then, Rachel, you and I will unpack it.
My statement to myself was like, this is all I want to do. This is all I want to do is pour into people and help normalize and stabilize the season that they're going through. Because I say this all the time on your platform, it's only a season. And many of us that I know that listen to this are from the Midwest, and you know not to throw away those big, ugly long johns just because summer decides to drift into October. Winter is coming, baby. Like, winter is coming. And that's the same thing in our life. This is just a season. Don't throw the rest of your life away over a season. Even if it's a 2-year season, it's just a season. And so that's what I've been doing, is just every day sharing with people and just trying to help them navigate and narrate where you are. You are right on schedule. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. And I know people need that. And they
Tim is just so full of almost stop you in your track one-liners, Rachel. And there were a few that he spoke to here about, this concept of setbacks as slingshots. What comes forward for you as you revisit this moment from January 6th?
I mean, first of all, how lucky are we to have someone like Tim in our community who is able to share so much wisdom and do it in a place where he's right alongside of us and in those moments with us. So it was just a great way to kick off 2022. That's for sure. I think what stands out for me is the perspective that it lends itself as, we get into the most joyful moments or the most challenging moments, and those can all occur in these certain seasons of our lives. And I think what really I took away from that was the perspective to kind of navigate all of those changes that come with the good and the bad.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm looking at the date stamp of this episode, January 6th. And if I'm not mistaken, that was quite a moment for our country. If I'm not mistaken, it's funny because in all of the prep for the show, that's not something that stuck out until I just looked at the date. It was January 6th. And I think it's so fitting that we had a leader like Tim with us as kind of our country was on tilt. Because Tim reminds us to stay the course. He reminds us that we are right on schedule. And it is his consistency and his clarity and his share of voice that has cut through so much profound moments that we've had as a team here at Thoughtium, and that our community here in Chicago has had. And even in that day, even though we didn't know it, he was really sharing this leadership perspective when there was a lot of unrest here in the country. And for that, we are just so proud to have Tim a part of our community and leaders like Tim. As we think about, setbacks as slingshots, Rachel, we have a question here that we want to ask you. And that is, how has navigating change really shaped our team and the way that we work with our clients this past year?
Yeah. I mean, let's start with that external perspective, like you did with January 6th, starting off with such uneasiness, unrest, and kind of uncertainty in our country. And, that never really stopped as the year went on. Unfortunately, we had Russia invading Ukraine. There's the crypto bubble collapsing. And in this back half of 2022, inflation going up, tech downsizing, just a whole bunch of economic uncertainty for us to navigate. And I think kind of Tim's perspective look at 2022 and that ability to turn setbacks into slingshots or those breakdowns into breakthroughs, like actually became a lived experience for me. Because, being in a small business and kind of a climate like this, we feel a lot more. So we use that analogy sometimes of like experiencing change in a speedboat versus on a cruise liner, right? We'll feel those waves a little bit more, the high highs, the low lows. And that's what happened, I would say, in 2022 with a lot of internal change as well. I mean, we hired 7 wonderful new team members, which is so great to have. And on one end of the wave, we had to have some difficult conversations as a team and with our clients on what some of those macroeconomic conditions meant for their work or their work with us. And on the other hand, we really got to help them succeed in some of the most challenging times that they've faced to date, many of them with where they are in their careers. So even when, or maybe especially because they were asked to do so much with less, it was a really big chance to make an impact with them. So for me, 2 main takeaways from this. One, as Tim mentioned, humanity has to come first. Sometimes, we call this the real, as you can appreciate in our line of work. And it's so important that we just sit down with our clients, the people that we work with, be in the arena with them to experience those highs and lows alongside of them. So I think what I've appreciated about our work this year is just at the center of the experiences we design, whether they're workshops or coaching sessions or just one-on-one check-ins that we have with them, these relationships that we're building are even more important as we think about the different seasons that we're each navigating. And then the second thing I would say here, and I'll go to steal Tim's book title for this, is the idea of leave no potential on the table, right? So with the new hires we've had, I feel like our collective brain power and our skill sets has just grown exponentially and just transformed the work that we've been able to do, and do new work that we haven't been able to do to date. So with that, in combination of that forced innovation that can come in times of economic downturn, it has been such a spark for our business, and I think generated a lot of exciting what if conversations and how might we conversations as we look ahead. So I guess a long-winded answer to your original question, it would be the creativity, it would be the resilience, it would be kind of the human connections. These have been some of my favorite ways that I've seen us navigating 2022 alongside our clients.
Thank you, Rachel. And just some great perspective from somebody who really does stand at the center of our team as a director here at Thoughtium. You have such great, not only vantage of both, the building of Thoughtium, the business, but also the incredible work that we're doing with our clients. And that all starts with the way that we light up and enable our people. And I so appreciate the way that you do that with our team on a day-to-day basis. Thank you so much for being a part of today. And I think we'll probably see you a little bit later on in the episode.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so we are counting down the top 5 moments, the top 5 most impactful moments of an incredible 2022 at the Navigating Now Virtual Roundtable Series. We move forward to March 31st, and this is episode 82. And I don't think she knows this, but I'm actually going to bring Molly Sutherland forward to share in this discussion with me. Molly, welcome to the table. Molly is our senior designer here at Thoughtium. She's also been a host of several Navigating Now episodes, and we're excited and thrilled to have you at the table here at the end of the year. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Been really fun to kind of look back and see all that's happened in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. So this moment, again, coming from March, is all about community. And another perennial leader as part of our Navigating Now community, and maybe one of our most beloved, Jim Graziano, comes forward with a real perspective on the key ingredients to building community. And we're going to share this clip here. This was a very, very special episode that was shot right here in Chicago, Illinois, the heart of the city. West Loop. I sat down and was fortunate enough to sit down just after Jimmy had closed his deli sub shop here on Randolph Street in the West Loop, and we sat and we talked about old times, we talked about new times, and we talked about those ingredients that haven't changed over the years as it pertains to building a community. So we'll hear from Jimmy here in a second.
That's what makes a community, Anthony, and it's not an original thought of mine. That's what I got to see when I was 9-10 years old, and my dad started bringing me down here. And this, as you know, this was the market, right? And there was a lot of places that sold dry goods like us, different ethnicities, fruit and vegetables, restaurant supply, your butchers, your fish guys. And in one way, there were direct or indirect competition. But what I saw was these guys worked with each other, because if the guy across the street, the guy down the block, if he was doing well, you were doing well, and it attracted more people to the neighborhood. I remember when Rick Bayless opened up across the street, he has Leda Brava and Cruz Blanca. Somebody asked me, God, aren't you nervous that Rick Bayless has a restaurant right across the street from you? And I said, no, I'm not nervous. I'm really excited, because he's going to draw so many people to this neighborhood. You can't eat a sandwich every day. You can't eat a taco any day, fill in the blank. And people are going to see our shop, and eventually they're going to come in. And then it's on us to kind of set that hook and develop a long customer. And what has always made me feel really good about this neighborhood, even though aesthetically it could not be more different than what it was when I grew up and in the good old days, as they would call them, is that, that sense of community, that we are in this together. I want everybody to be doing well down here. It's going to make this neighborhood sustainable. It's not going to be a flash in the pan. That can happen sometimes when you have a really big buildup in a short period of time. And our neighbors are part of what keeps this neighborhood rolling. And when a place opens up, I bring them a couple trays of sandwich, give them a proper welcome to the neighborhood. And
you know those mornings.
So just an incredible moment that we were able to share really live with Jimmy and his team at JP Graziano's. And, you know, I'm never surprised at how much we can draw from Jimmy's ability to speak to the importance of some of these foundational components to business. And he runs an Italian deli, a nearly 100-year-old Italian deli here in the heart of Chicago. It couldn't be further from on paper, the business that we do at Thoughtium. We're a client services organization. We are an experience design firm. We work with corporate America. And Jimmy's words and his impact have made such a profound statement and have been such a guiding light for, you know, who we are as a team. And Molly, I'm just curious, you know, as you hear that incredible moment back in March, what do you hear coming, you know, through loud and clear from Jimmy's words?
Yeah, it's funny because I joined the team Thoughtium around that time, and I remember watching that episode and really being introduced to how Thoughtium thinks about community. And you know, now being part of our community and our team, like it just is ringing ever more true of what Jimmy was talking about. I think like you said, while we have very different businesses, like I think it's just that mindset and that priority of community and what that can create. That's just so incredibly strong. You know, and I think you've been a big builder of that. So I'd love to hear from you, Anthony. Like, what are some of the things that just haven't changed about how we build community?
That's a great question, Molly. Thank you. And we've got it up here on the board as well, too. You know, I go back to a few of the things that Jimmy has always spoken very clearly of, and that is, you know, as a small business, yes, your goal is to grow and it is to scale, but it is also to bring those around you up, right? So, you know, we are not here to create the tallest building in the West Loop or in the management consulting world. We are here to enable and uplift our community, and that includes our clients. That includes our friends and our family, but it also includes, and we don't even say the word our competitors, but those firms that we partner with and work with, or maybe don't, that do very similar work. And, you know, Jimmy reminds us that community is all about service and service to others, whether those are considered your competition, whether those are considered folks that maybe have nothing to do with your business. But his words just are so resounding that we are here to lift up and enable all those folks around us. And, you know, our relationship with the Graziano family and all the incredible things that Jimmy and his team are doing is a perfect example of community. You know, we met Jimmy and his team at the doorstep of the pandemic, you know, almost 3 years ago. And they were long and hard and cold days that myself and Norm would walk here to the office in the Fulton Market. And we would always pass Jimmy outside. He was either waiting for a bread order or he was opening the door for his team to come in and set up shop. And we would sit and we would talk for about 5 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Those conversations were so fruitful and formative. They were community-based. And more than anything, they were all about showing up. So I'd say the other ingredient that hasn't shifted in terms of community is the power of physically showing up for one another. And that's why we now celebrate what we call our 6-block radius here in the West Loop. Jimmy's a big part of that. Our ability to show up for our community in ways that matter is just another ingredient that I would point towards that I think is so evergreen and will not change no matter how virtual and no matter how remote we go. So Molly, thank you for being such a facilitator of our community, and I appreciate the credit that you give to me. But Navigating Now is really brought to you by our entire team, and Molly has really stepped into the role of creating the story and the face of Navigating Now. A lot of the creative that you see, a lot of the snackable content, a lot of the way that we communicate the value that these discussions are having. Really come from the creative genius of your work, Molly. So thank you for all of the work that you do to make Navigating Now so special.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. Do you want to stay on for one more?
Would love to.
Okay, cool. So this next episode, or this next top moment, and we are counting down the top 5 moments in chronological order of the 2022 Navigating Now Roundtable series. So many great episodes, so many incredible moments. In June, Molly, I know you were a big part of a Create the Space experience that we hosted for our community, of which I'd love to have you share a little bit about in a moment. But this clip that we're going to play here is from Philip Musset and Cabral Clements, who were the co-producers and co-founders of a short film that had such profound impact on not just our community, but the broader community. And The Inventor is a short 14, 15-minute film that just stopped our team in their tracks this summer and really challenged us to answer the hard questions. And at the center of that discussion was this concept, or this idea of equity, and how it's a little bit different than equality. And so we're gonna share this clip, and then Molly, we're gonna have you help us unpack it here in just a second.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is equity is for everyone. The next thing that I would say is the sort of etymological difference between the word equality and equity is means everyone gets the same thing. Equity means everyone gets what they need. And the way that we sort of brought the concept of equity to life in the film, I think, shines through this dynamic between Garrett and Frank. And this is sort of how we framed it with the organizations that we've spoken with, but Garrett and Frank have very different orientations to the same problem. And the same way that team members on any team in any organization, or with, to your point, Anthony, within, siblings within a family, can have different viewpoints. But in this day and age, organizations talk a lot about innovation, for example. Well, I think the reality is no organization can have an innovative bias without creating space for everyone to have space at the table.
I could let that roll for another 3 or 4 minutes, because there's just so much in our conversations with Philip and Cabral. They are such incredibly talented creators. And what they created through The Inventor was this amazing artifact for us all to zoom in on. And at the center of it was this question of equity. Molly, I know that you helped design and put on an experience that we hosted in June, where Philip and Cabral came out. This was the Create the Space experience here in Chicago. We showed the film. We screened the short film. We had a group of about 15 of our community members in, and then we spent a good 2 or 3 hours in discussion about some of the nuanced differences between what we know as equality and what we really should strive for as it pertains to equity. And so, a question for you, Molly, is how have we created the space for more equity in our discussions and our work with our community?
Yeah. I mean, I love how Philip explained that too. I think it's so clear to think about, like, equity is really thinking about, like, people getting what they need. And I love that distinction of, it's not just here's something for everyone. It's really meeting people where they are and figuring out what works for them. And when I think back to the Create the Space dinner, like, and the incredible conversations we were having, I could see that play out right there. And I think it was that kind of ability to just provide space to hear people's stories and people's perspectives, and what they were bringing with them, what they were offering, their strengths, what they can bring to the table. And it was really powerful to hear that, of like, how do we create that space for people to share what they need, or how they do want to be involved, or voice ideas, opinions. I think that example of innovation is a great one of like, there's not one specific way that needs to happen, and figuring out, who is on the team and how they want to engage is so important. And I think, two things really come to mind with that of like, one, I think just the format of the Create the Space dinner is incredible, where it is, it's not even really a facilitated discussion. It's a loosely guided kind of, but it's totally dependent on who's in the room. Like the people that are there are what determines that conversation, which I think is so powerful. And I think the other place that I've been seeing that even within our team is a lot of our work to get to know our teammates as colleagues, as people, understanding some of those preferences on how people want to show up. Do they, how they want to prepare for a meeting, etc. I think has just been really powerful in meeting people where they are and making sure they're getting what they need, not just a kind of blanket element across the board.
Yeah, there's a viscerality to that definition of equity. Really, at the heart of that is people getting what they need. And I think you raised a couple of good points. One of which I just want to double down on. One of the things that we feel very strongly about here at Thoughtium is our ability to share and tell our story, and more importantly, enable others to tell theirs. And the Create the Space dinner is a wonderful example of a platform that we're so fortunate to have created that allow folks like Philip and Cabral to tell their story and to share it in very, very meaningful ways. And Molly, I want to thank you for being at the heart of a lot of this creative expression. It's one thing for a group of very talented individuals like the team here at Thoughtium to have such wonderful ideas, so many of which are rooted in the user experience. And I now look back and I can't believe that it took us 5 years to realize that at the heart of the user experience is a real intentionality in terms of how we express ourselves and how we tell that story and how we enable others to tell theirs. And so much of the work that you've done this past year has allowed us to better express ourselves, to better share what we need, and to most importantly, help others find a voice of their own. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we are counting down the top 5 moments, and I think we're rounding the corner, and we'll be taking a look at our last 2 moments of the year. And I want to thank everybody who has tuned in today, as well as those folks who have tuned in over the course of the last year. Revisiting those moments reminds us how strong a role community plays in the building of a small business. And it's something that has become, this community has become the lifeblood of who we are and what we do on a day-to-day basis. And it's so much fun to look back. So we have 2 more moments left. And for those, I want to bring forward Ashani Gupta. Ashani is a senior consultant here at Thoughtium. She's also like low key trying to take over the platform here because she's hosted 4 or 5 sessions herself. And I've just been, so thrilled to stand back and watch Ashani come forward in some pretty incredible ways, including facilitating this show. There's so few moments, so many moments, I should say, where I stand back and I'm like giddy. And Ashani, seeing you step forward and facilitate some of these great discussions has definitely elicited a few of those moments. So welcome back to the table.
Thanks, Anthony. I'm always so happy to be on this platform.
Yeah. Well, but let's just make it clear that I'm the host today. So you get to be you get to be in the you get to be in the question or the hot seat, if you will, for just one or 2 moments here. Ashani, you're here to help us bring forward our last 2 moments from Navigating Now in 2022, our top moments. And this first one came from a series back in October that you had hosted. We call this the Thoughtium Perspective Series. And this is once a quarter. We take 3 or 4 of our Navigating Now episodes and we focus them in on a very particular topic. We develop a perspective. That perspective is then supported by, of course, 3 of these episodes, as well as a toolkit so that our community and our clients can take this conversation to their teams. And our October perspective series was all about developing innovation capabilities. And the moment that we're going to share here was a discussion that you were having with our very own partner here at Thoughtium. Grift what recently was promoted from vice president to partner here, which is super exciting. And it's because of this type of perspective and leadership that he gives. And this moment is an exciting one because you ask him the simple question around kind of what is innovation today and what is its role in our business lives. And we'll hear from Grift here, and then excited to have you unpack it a little bit.
Creativity, I think it's one of those words that it gets introduced to you really, really early on in your life. But as I've started to unpack it a bit more through my own journey, I think creativity, when it boils down to it, is actually related more so to confidence than anything else. I think if you think about when you're younger, particularly when you're a child, the amount of confidence you have around your creativity is almost limitless. And I think as you go through years and years and experiences, and certain things start to, click, or maybe you do certain things and you get your hand swatted, or maybe you do certain things and you get rewarded, your ability to be more open stance and be confident in that open stance, I think, gets a little limited. And so I think a lot of times what it takes when you get older, when you get more seasoned, maybe even when you've been more tenured in a particular role or part of an organization, is that how do you get back, or how do you regain that confidence to step into the creative space and really be a bit more out of your comfort zone, out of your natural biases, out of the assumption. So I maybe would counterintuitively say creativity, more than anything else, takes confidence.
Some great words from our fearless leader here at Thoughtium, Grift Krenbrink. That was just a wonderful discussion that I know you were really enjoying kind of facilitating, and Grift unpacks this concept of creativity. What is creativity? How does it fuel innovation? And he calls on, that sense of childlike wonderment, or that sense of childlike creativity as almost the baseline for innovation. And he says it's challenging because we kind of lose that. And so, Shani, as you take a look at that, maybe what comes forward for you, and also tell us a little bit about Thoughtium Perspectives and how that has, challenged our team and our community to think differently.
Absolutely. Anthony, that answer that Grift gave was just, it's one of my favorite definitions of creativity that anyone has ever shared with me. And, that's because it's so true. As we grow up, we have these there are behaviors and that are awarded, and that we're criticized for, and we just come up with these self-imposed constraints on ourselves that actually limits us from even dreaming or even experimenting outside what's the norm and what's the structure. And I, that whole episode was about the innovation mindset and what does it take. And it was such a simple answer that it's really about stepping into your creative confidence, to own that creativity, to extend that, because that translates into innovation. And that's another reason why I love this perspective series, because, very often, I do this very often, and I know you do this too. You just maybe want to grab a cup of coffee with someone because they have a great body of work, or they have a lot of insight into a space. And to me, the perspective series is us doing exactly that, having conversations and putting forward a combined, powerful perspective, which is essentially how we have understood, or our perspective on how we see the world and the workplace, really. And by no means is this a research paper. By no means is this 10 years of research. And I'm a student of research myself, but it's really about our learnings with our clients, the way we show up with our clients, what we observe. And it's us sharing those learnings and perspectives with our community. And there's a lot of power in that, in conversations, in those perspectives, really. And I think it's challenged us as a team in many ways, right? From having last minute speaker changes, us really
Yeah.
having to pivot and kind of lean into our own agility, our own resilience, to bring to the community what we kind of promised them. But I think if there is one thing I hope the community has really taken away from all of this, is that yes, an innovation mindset might be about an individual, but really it's the team, it's the leadership, it's really your culture that fosters that mindset. It really
Hmm.
encourages it. Because innovation at the end of the day, it doesn't live in a department. It really finds home in your culture. And the two, the two sides of the same coin. And what behaviors you choose to reward, what behaviors you choose to encourage, really allows for teams and companies to create that safe space that really fosters innovation. So I hope that's something the community has really taken away, because that was one of my biggest learnings,
Yeah.
that got solidified through these conversations.
Yeah, and here you were, less than 6 months into your tenure at Thoughtium, and you were called forward to express a certain sense of creative confidence in putting even this
Yeah.
perspective together. And one of the things that I hope that everybody here at Thoughtium is experiencing, and even our clients as we work with them, is this concept of creative confidence and the power that it gives you as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as a corporate citizen, as a friend, as a community member. This ability to put pen to paper, regardless of perfection, is literally what we do every day running a small business, because we sure as heck don't have the answers. We don't have the formula. But clearly, folks like yourself, Ashani, are so excited to step forward and do that. And that means sometimes, as you said, hitting live and putting that perspective forward and generating conversation around it, not waiting for it to become, this time-tested white paper, if you will. And that's something that is so exciting about what we're building here at Thoughtium. And I want to thank you for being at the center of so much of our creative confidence, and more importantly, expressing so much of that yourself in just a short time here at Thoughtium. We're just so thrilled to have you on the team.
Thank you, Anthony. And I'm going to say thank you to you for really fostering that spirit, and allowing each one of us to really step into our creative confidence as well.
Of course. Thank you, Ashani. We'll see you. Actually, no, you're staying on for one more. You got a couple minutes?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. We're rounding out the top 5 moments for the 2022 Navigating Now Virtual Roundtable Series. And we end it just a couple of weeks ago. And this was a wonderful conversation that we had back in November 10th. And the focus was on leveling up with coaching. And our guest, and we know him by the name Heesh. I'm now privileged to call him by his nickname Heesh, but Ashani, I will have you tell us a little bit more about this clip that we're going to watch here. But Heesh really focuses on the difference between coaching and consulting. And so as much as Navigating Now has become an incredible platform to tell stories and to unpack these big topics, it's also a wonderful reference and resource for real practical advice about how to step into a small business ownership, how to step into entrepreneurship, how to become a coach. And we have a handful of coaches on our team that I know learned a lot from this episode. So let's hear from Heesh here in just a second.
And so
Yes.
true coaching, no matter what, is client-led. It is not diagnostic. I would never say, Shani, because you want to do this, that, you should do this. This is what you should do. Here are your action items. That would be a consultant or maybe a mentor. A true coach believes that no matter what, you have the answers to every single problem that you're showing with, and I am your teammate. You are the expert in you, and I am the expert in process, and I will never be the expert in you. And so that is such an important embodiment from a coach that, hey, your clients are the expert in them. They have all the answers they need. And I legitimately don't. And that's perfect because I know coaching strategies and human psychology, blah, blah, blah. And it's the coming together of both that creates transformation for people's lives.
Okay, I mean, powerful words from your friend and fellow Babson alum. I also just realized as I'm always so drawn in by his delivery style, and I don't think I ever have been able to put a finger on it. But I think just now, visiting that clip with you, Ashani, I realize he must take lessons from Simon Sinek because he has a little bit of that cadence and a little bit of that ability to just draw people in his delivery style. So we're going to have to ask him about that next time he's on the show. But tell us what sticks out from this final moment, and how have maybe you found a sense of your own leadership in 2022.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I will say I'm a huge fan of really leveling up with coaching because it's such a powerful guided process for us as individuals and even as leaders to tap into our own potential and to show up with our own authentic self and lean into our own strengths and identify our weaknesses. And I think that's the power of coaching. And it's really interesting because he makes this distinction between coaching and consulting. Consulting's prescriptive and coaching is rather should I say guided. It's the expertise of the coach is in the process. And I feel some of what we do at Thoughtium is a mix of the two. As we facilitate a lot of these sessions, while we're consulting in certain spaces, we're really guiding our clients to a result that is really their own. And I think what's been very powerful in 2022, and I'm sure for most leaders, we're out of a pandemic, going back into work, stepping into maybe a recession. And I think for a lot of leaders, it's been about really showing up with a lot of compassion and discovering their own authentic self. And it's definitely been for me, bringing in compassion to the workplace for my colleagues, for my leaders, for everyone, and really focusing on what does my true authentic leadership look like? It doesn't look like Anthony's leadership. What does Ashani's leadership look like? And really exploring that paradigm. So I think that's been a huge shift in focus for a lot of people in 2022.
That's interesting. And you're sure you're not picking up any bit of Anthony's leadership style whatsoever? Because I can tell you, Ashani, I'm definitely taking some cues from you and your ability to just find your voice, particularly with our clients. And I think that's one of the most wonderful thing here is, we all get to learn from each other. And he says it. Yes, there's a difference in coaching and consulting, but it's the bringing together of the two that make what we do here at Thoughtium, I think, very, very special, is we get to kind of play at that intersection of truly creating the space for others and allowing them to draw connections, but in many cases following up with or leading with tools and frameworks that allow them to make some of their own personal insights actionable. And I know that's a lot of the work that you're focused on doing here as a consultant, as an experienced designer. I know that you've brought so much of your own experience to the table. But I'll just also go back to how exciting it's been to run alongside you, Ashani, over the course of the last 6 months, where you and I have been able to express our own creative confidence and just dive into so many scenarios where we might not have known where we were going, but we can rely on the strengths of who we know we are. And I appreciate that work with you this past year.
Likewise, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Okay, so that wraps up our top 5 Navigating Now Virtual Roundtable Series moments for 2022. I'm going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to see if I can bring Rachel and Molly back up here. And good, we've got all 4 of us. Super excited to do this with you all, team. And I'm so giddy today because this is just another example of how our team can organize around an amazing opportunity with very little figured out, and we step in and we show that creative confidence, and we're able to tell a story live on a platform to our community across LinkedIn, YouTube, friends, and family. And that is why I still get chills about this platform. And that is why I still get even more excited to bring you all forward and to have you all run this. This is the people's platform. And Molly and Rachel and Ashani, thank you so much for joining today and being a part of the discussion. Let's round it out. We typically end each episode with a lightning round. And so we're going to do a little bit of a makeshift lightning round. And I'm going to ask each of you a lightning round question. Are you all game?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Molly, we'll start with you. Give us your kind of 30-second or less sweet and sour from 2022.
Ooh, I like sweet and sour better than high and low, I think. So I'm into it. 2022, I think my sour was a little bit of just navigating change. I think that was happening for a while, but definitely continued in 2022. I think it had its sweet moments, but it certainly had its sour of figuring that out and making sure that I was staying myself through that. And I think my sweet is actually the result of one of those changes is I would say a sweet from 2022 is just being part of this community, being part of the Thoughtium team. I have grown so much as a leader, as a designer, but also just in having fun and learning so much from an incredible team that I'm surrounded by. So that has certainly been a sweet moment and highlight from 2022 for me.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Rachel, we'll go to you next. What is one thing that you are really looking forward to as we head into 2023?
I've been doing a lot of reflecting in the car rides, as you can imagine, all 24, 26 hours that I've had so far, and courtesy of one of our teammates, Nicole, sharing some of these like reflection exercises for 2023. Yeah. And I think I've come down on a one-word kind of power resolution or mantra that I think I'm going to focus on in 2023. And for me, that is movement. And it is movement as I figure out where I want to build my life, if that is in San Diego, if it's back in Chicago, if it's somewhere else. And then, like many others, movement of the body and what can I do every day to help my physical movement of, you know, my body in space and myself in my life.
I love that. You were cutting out a little bit when you were saying where you might land. All I heard was that you might land back here in Chicago.
It's an option. Just an option.
No, we're also excited for you to be moving around the way that you are. And it's, I mean, even today we've got Ashani who's in India, and it's like 2:30 in the morning or something like that. And it actually looks like it's very sunny and beautiful where you're at, but clearly it's nighttime. We have Molly, who's on the East Coast, Southeast, if you will. And we have Rachel, who's essentially traveling across the country. And no matter what, we're able to connect through this incredible platform of Navigating Now, even today. So congratulations on an amazing year, Rachel, and best of luck with that word movement. I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to hold you to it.
Be my accountability buddy, please.
I will. Okay. Ashani, we will round out with you, and maybe we're going to give you the more tricky of the three questions here. And Ashani, I want you to think about Thoughtium as a single word in 2022 and Thoughtium as a single word in 2023. And you can take a moment, even though we're live, you can take a moment, but how would you describe Thoughtium as a single word in 2022? And is that word different in 2023?
I would say I think 2022 Thoughtium was maybe a teenager, late teens. And I think 2023 is about kind of grounding the formative years when you go to college. So becoming do you say sophomore in the US, I think? Yeah. So going from being a teenager to maybe a sophomore in undergrad.
That is super interesting. So if, in 2022, Thoughtium was, sneaking out of the house through the back door and maybe getting away with, these divergent perspectives and, kind of forming as a young teenager, 2023, we might take a little bit of time to kind of pause and study a bit and reflect and have a little bit more of our feet on the ground. I love that.
Absolutely. We have a solid team, and I just see next year as like us getting that degree and growing exponentially.
That is such a good answer. Like that's definitely going to stay with me as we close the show out. I want to thank all three of you for joining. We want to thank our community at large. We definitely want to give a couple of special shout outs to a few folks that are not on the line today that help really light this platform up on a week-to-week basis. Amanda Lobo, who I believe is tuning in today. Amanda, thank you so much for just the incredible work that you've put into Navigating Now over the course of this past year. Amanda will be rejoining the team post childbirth, which we're so excited for. And we're excited for her to continue to breathe new life into the Navigating Now community. We also want to thank our fearless colleague Faith, who has been running a lot of the behind the scenes on the Navigating Now roundtable, the production, the white glove treatment for our guests, the setting up of the topics and the thumbnails and the descriptions and all of the things, all of the mechanics that allow us to hit live on a week-to-week basis. So, Faith, thank you so much for everything that you do. And that will close us out for the year here on the 29th of December. We're really excited that there will be very little break in the action. And next Thursday, the 5th of January, we will be back live. But until then, we want to wish everybody an incredible end to your 2022. Plenty of very positive and vibrant movement in 2023. And we're not going to stop this. We're going to keep going week after week. Thursdays at 3:00. You can check out all of our episodes and future episodes at Thoughtium.com/live. Team, thank you so much for joining. This was so much fun. Let's do it every week. Love you guys, and we'll see you all soon.